All right, it's a special edition, so it's got a special intro.
I like that.
This is the Bad Apples Podcast, where we talk about faith, we talk about coffee, we talk about friendship. And tonight, well, for us, it's nighttime because we are recording right after the Forge Men's Conference at Hope Church, offering a little bit of recap. So if you were at Forge, we're hoping that this is a great opportunity for you to maybe jog your memory, remember some stuff. Maybe think about something that God put on your heart.
Yes.
And so, as always, I am sitting across the table from my buddy, Cody.
What? And I'm sitting across the table from my buddy, Garrett.
I didn't even get to introduce you as like one of the 8 people from West Virginia. So,
well,
anyway, we're glad you are here listening with us and on this conversation. So, Forge, man, tell me, what is something like, without like burying the lead here, what is something that was really great, like you absolutely loved?
I'm going to go with just the camaraderie that you don't always get a chance to really be a part of and see. Because you know, I don't want to use the cliche, oh, there's just not enough stuff for men. But like when men get together,
right,
and it's specifically for men,
right,
and we're having a good time, and there's
great
bro hugs, and there's talks of movies and Western movies, and what
who talk about Western movies?
Me and Troy.
Okay.
But other people also.
Okay. You know? All right. Cool.
But you know,
and smoked meat,
and there was smoked meat, pounds of it.
Sorry. Oh yeah,
pounds of it.
I see that gallon-sized bag over there you've got full of smoked meat.
I've got it sitting right here in the chair next to me. It deserved a place on the podcast. It's
actually our special guest.
We just didn't have a mic for it ready. But
doesn't say much, but man, it smells good.
Yeah, it says something when it enters my taste buds. You hear me? It speaks pretty loud.
That's right. So no, the food was great. The atmosphere was great. It was one of the things I love is whenever we as a church do something that brings a smaller gathering. Yeah. Now, not to say that there weren't many people here. There was a lot of guys here.
Good crowd.
Yeah, there were a lot of guys here, but you're still able to see people and recognize them, and you're not in the hurry of Sunday morning, and so you're sharing some space with each other. We had Matt Adams, the illusionist, here.
Yes.
He did a great job. It was cool watching him do.
He blew my mind.
Yeah. And you're a guy who doesn't like magic.
Yeah, man, I couldn't believe it.
Self-proclaimed magic hater.
Bro, I said, what is this sorcery?
The trick with the juice and this stuff was pretty good.
That was good.
That was pretty good. So
good. I really want Dr. Pepper.
Yeah, Scott did not like the Dr. Pepper.
He did not.
No, he's not he turned to me as soon as he picked that card. He goes, I hate Dr. Pepper.
Oh.
So anyway, but it was a really great night. Thank you to everybody who made it happen. I know Dustin put in a ton of work.
Oh man, what
to make that happen.
Hey, did you come last year?
I didn't. I was on a cruise.
Oh, that's right. You were on a cruise.
That's right. I was on a boat.
Yeah, man. It was good last year, too. And I was super excited when I saw it coming back this year. Made a lot of friends last year.
Yeah.
Met a lot of men that I, in the hurry of Sunday morning, like you mentioned,
sure.
You don't get to just kind of sit with them and talk and meet people. And I met a lot of guys last year. And it was just cool to meet some new guys this year.
Yeah.
And you know.
Yeah, we got to hear from a lot of different people who did a lot of different things. Now, we know that you, our listener, hopefully, I think that Dustin's going to share this through like an email or something so that people can recap the conference. But if you're a normal listener to our podcast, we hope that this blesses you too. Yeah. And we are not going to diverge away from our coffee talk because that's our habit.
Oh,
and even though it's 10:30 at night.
Is this the latest we've recorded?
Yeah.
Just about.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been together
at
this time before, but I think this is the latest we've started.
I think so too.
And I mean, it's not that late.
But we are drinking we are drinking some black coffee straight from Guatemala.
Yep, straight from.
Yeah, courtesy of our friend Ashton Blower. She brought this back with her from her mission trip.
Fun fact.
The Leon version.
It's delicious.
I don't know if it's light roast or dark roast or any. I think it's a medium. Maybe it tastes like a medium.
Maybe it's a dark.
Medium to dark.
Yeah, definitely not a light.
I don't know, but it's really good.
I love it.
And it's going to keep us awake.
I love it.
It's going to bring us some energy.
I needed that.
And so it's a good kick because the conference was great, but it can, conferences can take it out of you. So
yeah. Fun fact about Ashton, her husband was on the podcast once upon a time when we did the Turkey Run episode.
That is right. Yep.
Man.
He was kind of a background guest on one of them where he didn't really say anything.
Yeah.
Then we asked him about the zombie apocalypse. Man, Jacob talks a lot when it's about guns. And,
that's right.
And, the undead. Anyhow, things that we wanted to talk about. We talked about the food. The food was great.
Oh, yes.
We had a lot of fun. The magic tricks were really cool. There was an awesome giveaway of that was crazy.
What?
We gave away a Pit Boss.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about it.
Like this big old smoker grill. Now
my name was drawn for a large shirt.
Oh.
I can't even wear it.
I couldn't enter the drawing for the grill. I was really hoping Scott was going to win. Scott, my father.
Yeah, you would benefit from that.
Yeah, I would have. Well, he has a Traeger. So
you would have got it then.
Yeah, I would have probably got the Pit Boss, not the Traeger.
Yeah, you would have got the Pit Boss
right.
for sure.
Yeah. So I was crossing my fingers because, it looks bad if one of the staff members win. However,
that's true.
That's
true.
Anyhow, the giveaway was fun. Did you play ping pong?
No, man.
So I think was his name Rick? I think it's Rick.
I think so. But he was here last year doing that thing too. Like,
dude,
step up.
Dude is good at ping pong. So the way that it worked was whoever scored the most points against Rick won $50. Mm-hmm. Nobody beat him.
No, of course
nobody got close. The max points was 4 scored by Caleb Batchelder.
Yeah.
So
I think he did good last year too.
Caleb? Yeah. So anyway, I played him. I got to 3.
Okay. And
Caleb was sweating.
Yeah.
But he closed the door on me pretty quick.
Man, that's just
I only caught him. I really only caught him a couple times. One of them I think he gave me.
Yeah.
Because he's like, I'm not going to let him just run away with this,
Yeah.
But anyway, so that was super fun. Yeah, he's like a pro ping pong player.
How do you even get that good at ping pong?
But you know who also scored 3 points?
Who?
Jackson Price.
Price.
In a way, I'm just as good as Jackson.
In a way.
But then we get into the auditorium. We sing some worship music. The band was great. It was fun. It's always interesting in a room full of men. It's like, is anybody going to sing?
Yeah.
And they did.
They did.
Yeah.
It was such a good atmosphere, man.
Yeah, it really was.
A good atmosphere. I was so tired coming in and just felt so much energy and I felt revived. Like I felt like there was just this reviving spirit that was there, and it was just like, man, I came in, I brought my tumbler because I was like, I hope they have coffee because I need some coffee.
We did not have coffee.
We did not have coffee.
Hey, put that on the list for next year, Dustin.
Exactly, Dustin. But I felt revived. I even texted Key. I'm like, man, I feel so much better.
Yeah, and I think the coolest thing though about this is you really seeing the men of our church come together for something.
Yeah,
and what's fun about the way that this is structured is it's not centered on any one pastor doing one thing. I mean, Dustin's definitely carrying most of the freight on this, but it's not just, hey, we're going to come and listen to one of our mini pastors talk, or just do a church service with just dudes. It's actually, we're hearing from one another, and that's really special. And
it is.
I think that we're going to talk more about that a little bit later, but I think that is something that's so valuable for us to be able to see each other, not as just co-attenders, but people that are all on the same trajectory, trying to follow Jesus, and we as brothers are trying to follow Jesus better.
Last year, it was that's what I took from it. Last year was hey, there's so many men here, and there's so many men who are in the same place that I am. I'm seeking Jesus, and when you see that, and when you know that, and when you know that you're really not alone as men, and there's other men that feel the same way you do, and think the same way you do, and been through similar things than you, and you're all just on this path of trying to be like Christ. It's a beautiful thing, man.
Yeah, it really is. So we get into the auditorium, we have some worship, and then Matt comes out, does a magic show, lots of really cool tricks.
Yeah,
I was a little disappointed, and I told him I missed the card magic. Card magic's my jam.
Yeah, you've said that.
Like, I love card magic.
Yeah.
If this were a video podcast, I'd do a trick on you right now.
Of course you would.
I totally would.
Of course you would.
And I hopefully would get you.
And you know what I would do? You know what I would do?
What?
I would do a wrestling move on you.
No, you wouldn't.
Yes, I would.
No, you would not.
Yes, I would.
You wouldn't catch me. I'd run away.
That's not fair.
Yeah, I'd hide under the table or something. Can't get me. No, anyway.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I almost made it. If my cards were just a little bit closer.
Come on.
I would have got you.
Hey, make him levitate and come over here.
It's not working.
Use crystals.
Jeez. All right. Not that podcast.
Yeah.
Anyway, the magic show was great. Had a good time with that. And then he started talking, and he shared the gospel.
Yeah.
Which was always refreshing. You know, it's always refreshing to hear somebody remind you of the gospel.
Yeah, broke it down well.
Yeah. And so I think sometimes I take for granted, especially talking to a room full of men who are invested here at Hope, I take for granted, oh yeah, they know the gospel. They're already here. They already know exactly what, we're talking about with all this stuff. And so
right.
I just kind of take for granted that that's what they're going to know. Anyhow, it's refreshing to hear him go over all that, but then he hits this stride at the end, which was so good. And he talks a little bit about his story. And he talked about how he used to be an electrical engineer.
Yeah.
Then he was an electrical engineer who took this magic evangelism thing to the next level.
Yeah.
And was doing it locally, and then it turned into a bigger thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, he kind of landed on something that I thought was really, really profound, which he talked about, like, we have more time than we think we do. The time needs to quit being an excuse that we hide behind so we don't follow Jesus into that next thing. Then he also talks about this other piece that he's like, oftentimes we are afraid to step into the thing that God is calling us to do because we're afraid he's going to ruin our life. We're afraid to yield to Jesus because we're afraid he's going to ask us to do everything we hate.
For sure.
And I thought that was so true.
Yeah, yeah.
You ever felt that way?
Yeah. I think for a lot of times in my life, I did not want to do anything related to preaching or anything like that. And I even said, and like, I'm never going to preach ever. Like, don't even. I'll never do it. And it was mainly because I was just so afraid of it.
Okay.
I was so scared of it. And then it felt like when God just kept calling me to it, I was like, oh, come on.
Yeah.
Like, come on. And, I didn't hate it, but I was just so afraid of it that I wanted to run from it.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I understand.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. I took it to a different place than that. Like, the thing that I mean, there's definitely some pieces I really relate to with that because I don't know if I've shared it here on the podcast. I think I have on stage, but like one of my things with ministry was I did not want to do it because I didn't know how to deal with big painful things like death.
Oh,
like,
yeah,
I didn't know.
Yeah.
I like that is that's my worst nightmare, is having to sit with people and feel feelings with them, which is a lot of being a pastor.
Absolutely.
Is like sitting with people and feeling feelings.
Yeah.
And so I kind of disqualified myself because it's not something I'm given to naturally. That's something I have to work towards. But the other thing, though, and I shared this in one of my messages recently, it was like when I do those things, I am really in a better position to see God's hand in it because it's definitely not me.
Yeah, for sure.
Because everything within me recoils away from that.
Yeah.
But when I step into that, I see God working in the midst of that because I wouldn't have chosen it myself. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. So
absolutely.
Yeah, and he's talking about that. But the other piece of that is I still hold things back from God because I'm afraid that I'm not going to like what he asks me to do, or it's going to upset my ecosystem.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it's like, you know, I hear you saying this, or I can kind of see the direction of this, but, oh, dude.
Yep. I'm with you on that.
I don't know that I want to say yes to this.
I'm with you. I'm so with you on that, because I have tended to kind of put my nose on it, as in me saying no. I've really kind of started to make them a comfort zone.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it is because of that. Like, it is because, like, I don't know if I put myself out there like this, or if I open myself, I don't know if I want to do that.
Right.
And it is because, like, I'm too afraid of upsetting my convenience. And that is a part of me that I have been praying about, and I have been talking to God about, especially during Lent, like that level of sacrifice that I need to get out of my own way and let God be God in my life.
Yeah.
And let that servanthood kind of come back to my life, because I feel like maybe I've put myself in a really safe bubble.
Gotcha.
After everything that's happened in my life.
Yeah.
I've put myself in a safe bubble, and I'm like, I want to open myself up just enough.
Right.
And
within moderation.
And I'm going to say no to everything else, and then I'm going to make my no holy. And I'm going to say I'm healthy because I'm saying no.
Right. You know, this is a good boundary.
And so I'm
not saying that there's not good boundaries out there. You know, please don't.
I do think that there is a healthy no.
Yeah.
But I think for me, if I'm being really honest, and maybe I can check back on this podcast at a certain time and really hear myself, and really take it to heart what I'm saying, I do believe that I have really made my nose a too big of a comfort zone, you know, and I've used them too much.
You can use them as a shield for sure.
That's exactly what I did.
Yeah. And I feel that, and I can resonate with that quite a bit. The other thing that made me really question is like, what am I saying no to? You know, what yes do I not have on the table? That's kind of the verbiage you kept using, is put a yes on the table. Yeah. You know, put your yes on the table. And I don't know, you know.
Oh, I did. He did say that, and I love that. I was like, man, that's powerful. Yeah.
And he, you know, he told the story of Elijah and you know, the widow of Zarephath, and he made some points in there that I never really considered about that story.
I hadn't either.
Really just kind of talking about how wild of an idea it would have been. If you're familiar with the story of the widow of Zarephath, it's this story where Elijah shows up at her house, and basically she has nothing left.
Yeah.
She has her son. She has nothing left.
Yeah.
She has enough food, enough oil, and enough flour to make one more meal. She and her son are going to eat this meal and die. That's her grand plan.
Yeah.
That's what, like, her, you know, 3-minute vision. That is what we're doing.
Yep.
Eat what we got, and then we're going to die together. And Elijah has the gall to tell her that God has sent him to her. He does infuse God into this.
Yes.
And then, you know, basically he's like, hey, do your plan, but okay, could you make me a small little bread first? Like just a small loaf for me, make some for you. God's going to take care of you.
Yeah.
And she had enough faith.
Right.
And a God that she doesn't actually believe in, mind you.
Yeah.
But I have to believe that she knew who Elijah was, in the sense that he is the one that's a messenger from God. This is the God who's turned off the rain,
right,
which has caused this drought.
Right.
So if this God says, I'm going to take care of you, maybe I can trust that a little bit. But and it's just this story about how God provides for this woman and her son and Elijah, and he is faithful throughout all of that because they place their faith in him and they're willing to trust him in that big thing. They put their yes on the table. And that's kind of where this whole challenge has come from. So, I'm trying not to take for granted that everybody heard what Matt had to say. That's listening. So I'm trying to walk that back so we are all on the same page.
Yeah.
Anyhow, makes you think, what am I saying no to? What is the thing that I'm not even entertaining. And the reality is that I'm kind of processing right now. The things that I'm probably saying no to are very not obvious to me because I have just shut it off. It's like done. It's not even considered.
Yeah.
There's some things I'm saying no to that they kind of sound fun,
Sure,
but they just seem really, really difficult.
Right.
I think that I have to do a little bit more soul searching to figure out what is it that, like, just absolutely not even going to consider it.
I agree with you. Because I don't really know off the top of my head. Like, you know,
I know some things.
Yeah, some things but I'm just like, man, what is my yes on the table?
Yeah.
Like, what am I saying no to, and what is my yes on the table?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. What does that look like? Anyway, so he talked about that. Really challenged us all to step into this idea of what more could we be doing.
Yeah.
Which is refreshing. Sometimes, you know, more gets a bad rap.
It does.
You know,
for sure.
Especially in Christian circles, more has kind of like,
you
know, we got here by doing too much.
Yeah.
And so we've shut off the valve.
Yeah, absolutely.
But the reality is that nobody's like, it's so cliche in our culture right now to be like, you're enough. You know, God loves you right where you're at, which is true. He loves you right where you're at, but he may not love right where you're at.
Exactly.
Like, you know, he loves you right where you're at, but he may not love the circumstances that you find yourself in. He actually wants more for you.
Yeah. A wise man once put it this way. We can come as we are, but we have to change. You know?
Yeah.
So that was you who said that.
What?
That was
I
you.
said that?
Yeah. Man. In one of our kitchen conversations.
What a you can't
stay. You can
dude.
come as you are, but you can't stay that way. That's what you said.
Oh, okay.
But you can't stay that way.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's powerful. So, yeah, I do think more gets a bad rep, and we do, like, there is so much more we can do.
Right. Yeah. If you're thinking that, like, you know, God doesn't have anything more for you, what a sad place to be, you know.
Yep.
And if you're somebody, I think that, you know, this always cracks me up. It's like, never change. Yeah, no. If you're a Christian, if you're somebody who's following Jesus, your whole freaking goal is to change.
The whole goal.
The whole goal.
My entire goal.
My goal is when I'm 85 years old that I still am hoping that God changes me just a little bit more.
Yeah, man.
You know, before we hit the finish line. Anyway, so that's
powerful.
a whole other.
I pray that I pray that I have changed from yesterday.
Yeah.
From yesterday.
Oh, yeah.
God
in a positive way.
Yeah, in a positive way.
Yeah.
Like, change me from whatever yesterday was. Last Friday. Change me. Continually change me.
I wonder if I'm at like a zero sum. It's like there's some positive changes from 5 years ago.
Yeah.
But then there's negative changes from 5 years ago. And so really it's like, you're progressing here, but you kind of suck here. So, you know, it's just kind of an never ending like teeter totter that just basically, I
just want the potter to continually keep his hands on the clay and to keep molding me and changing me and take me back to the wheel anytime, even though it hurts.
Yeah.
It hurts my convenience. It hurts my flesh. It hurts everything, but take me back and chisel me and cut me and mold me and shape me however you want to do it.
Have you ever seen anybody make a pot out of clay? They never have a chisel. It would break.
But I was thinking of I was just thinking of art in general there. I think I'm pretty sure it's an old song for some reason.
It's like, no, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
You know what I'm thinking about? There was the Skit guys. You remember them?
Yes.
Where they had the chisel.
Yeah.
The chisel. And he would just chisel. Ow. That hurt God.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's a throwback.
Oh, man. Skit guys.
Yeah, YouTube that.
Ooh. They're still out doing stuff. They were in Springfield last year.
You're kidding me.
Yeah, dead serious.
Dude, that was like 2004 or something like that.
Listen, man, you cannot quelch the power of a powerful skit. You know?
That's true, I guess.
Someplace it's still Willow
Creek.
But,
you know, I don't ever see mime teams and drama teams anymore.
They're coming back, baby.
Oh, gosh, please, I hope not.
Clowning for Jesus. Anyway, so then after that, we came out of that. We had some free time. Then we moved into this panel discussion. And, I mean, I loved the panel discussion.
Yeah, man, I really could have sat there all night. And listened to them.
Little known fact, I was supposed to be on the panel.
Why were you not?
I got fired from it.
Well,
No. So we had a meeting on, I think it was like Wednesday or something. The people that were supposed to be on the panel. I'm in that meeting. And we go through all these questions that they asked on stage. And I listened to everybody else's answers. And I only felt like I shared maybe like one good thing, like one thing. That would be the only thing I would climb up on stage to share because I think it matters. And I told Dustin afterwards, I said, hey, I really don't think you need me on the panel. It's not like I don't not want to be up there, but I'm going to take up more time.
Yeah. And
time is a precious commodity here. People hear from me. If they want to hear me talk, they can listen to the podcast.
There we go.
So anyway, I asked to be removed from the panel.
Okay.
Dustin told me no. Couldn't be removed from the panel. And then I got here tonight, and he actually said, hey, I actually don't want you on the panel. I'm like, okay, cool.
There you go.
Yeah. I think it's because I called him ugly or something.
Oh.
No. He asked Matt to be on instead. So
that's awesome.
He's like, yeah, having 5 people on the panel is too many people. But loved the panel.
Yeah, it was good, man.
And everybody in the room only got like the 20-minute on stage version.
Yeah.
I got the 1 hour in a meeting version, and it was so good.
I'm telling you, I was telling even Kirk, good friend of mine who's sitting with me.
Yeah.
I was like, man, I could listen to this all night long.
Yeah.
I just, because it's just different perspectives from different people, and they're normal people. It's like you're not listening to a panel full of pastors, and there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
It's really good to listen to. I love listening to panels, different pastors' perspectives or people in ministry, or the wisdom is amazing. But also, I love hearing from normal, everyday people in a normal job, just going about life.
Yep.
And I love hearing their perspective.
Yep. So useful, so helpful. And so we had the magic guy was up there. Matt was up there. Magic Matt. And then we also had who else? There's Tom, Chris, and Nathan. And so it was just great listening to those guys share their stories and share like kind of what like God's teaching them and on all those things. But there were a number of different topics thrown out there. I mean, they talked about purpose and like the urgency around inviting people to church, and accountability and routine and the lack of routine as far as like, building a relationship with Jesus, like how, what do your spiritual practices look like?
Right.
It was really cool to hear two of the guys be like, I don't have one, it's like,
that was cool.
I practice, faith, but I don't have like I wake up at this time and I do these things and it's this thing every single time.
Yeah.
There are some built-in rhythms that both those guys talked about, but they're not as structured. And then Chris, he's like, no, I have a very specific rhythm. And so it was really cool to see that kind of different, the different options. It's usually not presented as 2 different options.
I agree with you.
And so with you. That was really cool. Talked about leadership, like how to lead your family, how to lead and influence somebody else. I mean, like Tom talked about his work at the outlet. And,
amazing stuff.
Yeah, so cool. And I'm trying to think if we missed anything else. There's some stuff that I caught in the pre-meeting that wasn't shared. I'm going to touch on that just a little bit.
Yeah.
Specifically something like Chris said, because it was so good. But what of those things, of those different ideas, what really like clicked with you? What do you want to kind of run with?
I'm always going to connect to accountability. Always.
Yeah.
And I'm an advocate for it, and I'm really, but I'm also still trying to really work on it. Because for me, something that when Matt was describing his relationship with accountability, and his kind of walk with it, that's very much my story.
Yeah,
what his story was he grew up in a very fundamental. He grew up in a very fundamental Baptist community. I grew up in a very fundamental Pentecostal community. And they're mirrored in certain ways.
Yeah.
And I was teaching, and then I started preaching, and then even went into pastoring, and then, you know, you listen to the podcast, you've heard my story, but I was always so afraid that I can't be open with all of these very holy men, what I thought were holy men. I'm not saying they're not, but I'm saying I thought they were perfect.
Yeah.
Because I feel like we put ourselves on a pedestal, and I put them on a pedestal, and I'm like, well, they're living at the foot of the cross, bless God, and they're not sinning, and I can't tell them that I'm sinning because I don't want to lose everything I've worked for, and I don't want to show this weakness that I have deep inside of me. And it was this dark, you know, and I felt like all that pressure of hiding it and concealing it, like, built up like a geyser, and it just burst, and it just, the cracks just burst.
Right.
And, so I feel like even when I went through everything, went through the divorce, went through the, you know, the moral failure and all that stuff, I didn't truly start finding healing until I learned how to be accountable. And when even when I was going through counseling, I didn't know how to be. I didn't know what accountability was, because I thought I was just. And one day my counselor looked at me. He was like, "You are so churchy, and everything you say is churchy.
Oh no,
and it's religious.
Oh no."
And I never dreamed that I was religious. But he was like, take off this churchy mask and just tell me what you're dealing with.
Yeah. Bob did that to me the other day. He
Yeah.
was like, you know, so I've been meeting with him pretty regularly, and I'd asked him what do I need to do to prepare? Did he want me to read anything or anything like that? And he's like, "No, man." He's like, "I just want you to let your guard down and just be a human for a little bit."
Bob Lackey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
he just recommended a book to me, so I'm super excited about it.
there you go.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
It'll be heady.
Yeah. I'm
Prepare yourself.
It looks it. So, yeah, exactly. Like, and it's just that, and I've learned that there's a very powerful thing about being vulnerable, and I wish I could have him tell it or remember the perfect words that he explained it with, but Patrick was actually it was a panel. It was a panel of pastors, and Patrick was up there because he teaches at his church. Sure. And they were talking about accountability. They were talking about vulnerability versus transparency, and how, like he kind of described it as transparent is you see through someone, but the vulnerability is you see someone. And I've really kind of tried to use that in even talking to him, and I'll text him and be vulnerable and say, "Hey man, this is what I'm dealing with. This is what I'm struggling with. I feel like a complete failure." Yeah. Like, you know, and just have that reality and that realness and rawness of, this is what I'm dealing with. I'm a broken man. So yeah, I stand behind accountability, because I don't think I'd be where I'm at without it. Yeah. And having friends, but it's good with having friends like you, like Dustin, like Patrick, like people who are willing to walk with you and not cut you down, but also not shy away from saying, you know, "Hey, that may be stupid." Yeah. You know, but Jesus is still right here with you. Yeah. In this moment, in this dirt, you know. Sure. So it's been a beautiful journey with accountability.
Yeah, and it's so hard. Accountability is tough because it's a twofold thing. You have to, number one, be willing to put yourself out there. Yeah. And that's difficult. And then the other piece is you have to be willing to listen and and take the, you know, it always hurts. Yeah. It always hurts.
It does.
And so, I mean, the hardest thing for me with accountability is making sure that I'm in a place where, whether it's you or any of my other friends that I'm talking to about, like, I tried to at least ask the question of, like, am I missing it? Like, I'm going to put that out there so that one of you guys can be like, yeah, you are. Yeah, you're living in your own fantasy world, man. Yeah. Like, no, this is how it actually is, and here's the truth. And you know, And I can on the surface, I can always take that pretty well, other than my face gets red. But like on the surface, I'm usually pretty gracious.
Yeah.
In the back of my mind, it's like, are they right? Are they wrong? Where's the truth in this? What do I do with this? And like, that's such a hard thing to wrestle with. So accountability is important. Like being vulnerable is important. The other piece of it is like, you got to be willing to, you got to be able to take
That's true. That's a
take the truth, and the truth hurts.
That is another side of it that you don't talk about a lot.
We don't talk about it a lot. We're just begging people to be real and be vulnerable. We don't know how to like deal with the.
Yep.
We're all trying to change.
Yep.
It is hard to hear.
Yes.
You need to change.
You need to change.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is hard. It is hard.
And then that shuts us down from being vulnerable because we don't want to hear how we have to change. But really, the reality is, if somebody else would affirm, like, hey, you know what? Yeah, you probably should stop doing that. Yeah. You probably should start doing that.
Yes.
You know,
Dustin, I don't tell Dustin this enough, and I should, but he was just there were certain things when I found Hope Church and Dustin found me in the wreck that I was in. There was just ways that he talked to me that, and I know it's not like this for everybody, but for me, it was a change for me. It was different for me the way Dustin was talking to me. It was like, yeah, you're a freaking idiot.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds like Dustin.
And I'm like, what? but I like
that might hurt my feelings. Right. I don't know that I like that. But you're not wrong.
And I'm like, yeah, I am. Yeah. But the thing is I think it goes back to I was so churchy, and I had lost everything, and all the brokenness had come out, and all of the shell of the churchiness was gone because I wasn't there anymore, and I wasn't like. I was just completely at rock bottom,
right?
And I was open, and I heard that, and the way he talked to me in that sense was like, "Hey, that's really dumb.
Yeah,
you were being dumb.
Yeah,
don't be dumb again.
Right.
And I'm here if you need to talk, or if you're ever dumb again, I'm still here.
Right.
And there were times where I'd text him, I'm like, man, I was really dumb again. I was really dumb.
Yeah.
And he's like, yep, you're being an idiot again. Don't be an idiot. I love you. God still loves you. Just don't be an idiot again. Change.
Yeah.
And I'm like, man. And
there's something about when somebody tells you to do that though too.
Right.
That tells you that they believe you can.
Yes.
Even if you don't believe you can.
Yes,
they believe you can.
Yes.
But if nobody ever says that to you.
Right.
That believes that they don't believe you can change.
Right.
And they have resigned you to the place that you're in. Is you're just an idiot.
That's it.
So.
And that's where I was. And I had no idea what, and I tell some people this and they're like, dang, that's harsh. But that's what I needed.
Yeah.
That's what I needed because like we get so caught up in when Jesus forgives the woman of the sin, but then he tells her, hey, your sins are forgiven.
Yeah.
Go
and sin
no more.
Yeah. And I know your business.
And I know your bit. Like, right.
Right.
Like, we get so caught up in the love, and there's so much love and there's so much mercy, and we can't sin our way out of that grace and that mercy. We can't, but we got to change.
Right.
We have to change.
Yeah, and I think that's the powerful thing with the accountability. And the other piece of this, and this is where that conversation that they didn't have on stage, but I got to be privy to with Chris. He Dustin kind of told this story about how when Chris asks him how he's doing, you can tell that Chris cares. I don't know if you know Chris very well.
I do, yeah.
Yeah, but he does. That's a genuine thing.
He really does.
You know, I mean, he'll let you, if you just want to be like, you know, everything's fine. Sure. You know, he'll let you do that.
Sure.
But he'll also really, like, he'll ask you a real question. You're like, you know, it's kind of been a rough week. All right, what's been going on?
Yep.
You know, like that follow-up question and that kind of stuff. And so one of the things that came out in our pre-conversation as it relates to accountability is Chris talked about how he got to a place where he didn't feel like he needed to be qualified to care. Like, and that's kind of a paraphrase of what he was saying, but he was driving towards this idea that I realized at a certain point, like I just needed to be available to people to to care about them because people need to be cared about. And if I'm not going to do it, who's going to do it? And what qualifications do I even need to have? And so I think as it relates to accountability, there is that piece of like, you don't have to. I think sometimes we hesitate to step into be accountable or to hold a friend accountable or to hold a brother or a sister in Christ accountable because we feel like we're unqualified to do so.
Absolutely.
That's Dustin's job. That's Garrett's job. That's Brian's job. That's Troy's job. That's whoever's job. Somebody else is going to do this. That's not that. I'm not qualified to do it. But the reality is, if you have a relationship with somebody, the reason that Dustin was able to speak truthfully to you in that way was that you knew that he loved you. Yeah. The thing with Chris is that by him caring about what you have to say in that moment, he is earning he is earning not accountability tokens, but like relational tokens. He's adding relational credit between the two of you. So as if I'm talking to him about like how my week's been bad, and he throws something like, do you think like, maybe you should have done something a little bit different here? That is different because now I know that he cares about me because of the way that he's handled the rest of the conversation. You don't have to necessarily be qualified to step in as an accountability partner for somebody. Yeah. It also doesn't give you carte blanche to be a jerk. Right. But like, there is the side of it as well where with relationship, you have the opportunity to speak truth in such a way that it's received. Yeah. And so you can tell a friend, hey, like, you're in this mess. Maybe you think that but also position yourself as somebody who's humble enough to receive that sort of direction, because the reality is people are never going to tell you the truth. They don't think that
that's it.
You're going to listen.
That's it. That's powerful.
Accountability, so great. Yeah. One of my favorite things, both on Wednesday and then again tonight, was when Nathan Shanks was talking about the urgency of inviting people to church. Yeah. And he is, dude. He is a big time inviter. Yeah, he invites all kinds of people, and Dustin talked about that, and it's such a it's really cool because like every week he's got new people sitting with him and stuff. Yeah, it's incredible that he's just inviting from his normal everyday life. Yeah. And what he talked about was this sense of urgency around the gospel of like, hey, these people need Jesus. Yep. If I really believe that this is the best, most hope-filled news that's ever been given. Yeah. Why wouldn't I tell people?
It convicted me a lot.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm mad at it.
Yeah. But
like, daggone it.
For real, like, he's talking about it. He's like, this is, and it's a gut check because you're like, sure, if I really believe the gospel is the best thing that's ever happened to my neighbor, why wouldn't I invite them to a place where they'd be able to hear it?
Yeah, man. So it's funny. I actually got to be his neighbor for a little bit.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He lived in Taylorville. Okay. And I was, so in the house I used to be in, he was literally next door.
Yeah. And you invited him to Hope. No, I'm kidding.
That's why. But it was funny because I was just like, every time I would talk to the guy, and it was very small interactions. Yeah. He had a dog. I had a dog. It was cool. I
bonded over the dog.
I had to know that he was a cop or something because, he would get out in these this SWAT gear, and I always noticed the whatever, and I was like, man, this guy just seems cool. And every interaction I had with him, he just seemed like a genuine. When you just know, like, man, I think that like he's got to be a Christian, like he's got to be a good dude. There's just something there. And I remember coming here, one of the first times I came here, and I looked and I'm like, that's the guy from Taylorville. Yeah. Like that's the guy from Taylorville. And so I was like, hey, do you live in Taylorville? And he's like, yeah, you're the one with the German Shepherd. I was like, you're the one with the bulldog. I'm like, this is awesome. So just a genuine dude, man. I like Nathan
that's
a
cool.
lot.
Yeah, but the things that he had to say about, sharing faith and it just what motivates him to do that, but really like it's that challenge of like, hey, if you really have, if this is what we believe that it is.
Yeah.
I mean,
what am I believing then?
And he talked about, them on Saturday nights just going through and thinking like, who do we need to text and invite tonight or tomorrow? Yeah. Like, and maybe we have to go to service twice,
that was
or
big,
maybe,
man.
Or maybe we have to go to another church. Man, that was such a huge thing.
That was huge for me. I'm just like, Because even in my soul, like not soul, but like I'm just sitting there thinking, oh man, no, I can't go to 2 services. What?
No,
Because I'm so regiment on Sunday morning, and that's so bad. But it's like, oh, I got to be at the 9 o'clock service. Got to get there at 8:30 to get my seat in the perfect middle section where you're right in front of the sound booth where I can hear everything perfectly and see everything. Like, Lord, get me out of that. Get me out of that, Lord.
That's right.
Like, mess up, Lord. I don't want to pray that. Mess up my schedule, Lord, for someone else. Like, let me be of service to someone else, even if it means.
Yeah, I see your yeses on the table, but it still has your hand on it.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna take it back.
That's right. As soon as we hit the unrecord button.
See how
God, changed my mind. My fingers are crossed.
Oh man, but that's so true though, man. And that was powerful stuff to hear. It was such a simple but profound message of like, this is why.
Yeah.
Like, I invite so many people not to get the most on Bring a Friend to Church Day, but
which is
to get the most to Bring a Friend to Heaven Day. You know, and as if the gospel is like what we said it is. I don't want anybody to miss out.
Yeah.
What was it he said, the scripture that he used when he started looking at people and then putting that at the end, for whom Christ died?
Yeah.
And you look at your enemy for whom Christ died.
Yeah.
Your coworker for whom Christ died. This person for whom Christ died. When you start putting that at the end of all these people, it changes the way you look at
it. It
people.
does. It for sure. So, okay, talked a little bit about accountability, a little bit about purpose and urgency there, but I wanted to talk to you about one of the things that Tom talked about. Thomas talked about, and he was talking about how he leads in the outlet, and just the stick-to-itiveness there, and like what does it look like to connect with people that you have very little in common with, and to step into that, and he talks about just this compelling, really a call from God to just keep going, continue to be faithful in this. And I absolutely loved what he said when in relation to all of that. He's just like, there's something to be said for that faithfulness of staying in the trenches of what God has called you to do, and being available to do it. And one of the things I love about his story is that he has not used retirement to like explore golf or, he might play golf, but he's not used it to, to vacation or do whatever else. It's like he's using his availability as a retired guy to serve his community and to serve in the outlet in a really big way.
Yeah, it's incredible.
It's so cool. And he doesn't tell any of that either, so that we'll talk about him on the podcast, and he can feel good about himself. It's just like just keep doing this. Like it's that same sort of urgency of like, this is what I've called you to do. You got to do it.
Yeah, and I think if which is what he mentioned, the wins are kind of you're playing the long game.
Yeah,
it's not a.
Oh, and it's a partnership.
Yeah,
that was the other thing.
Yeah, it's a partnership.
I love that,
and it's an investment, and it's not something you're probably going to reap from immediately,
right?
And I think about the youth group and the boys that I lead, and think about the journey that we've been on since you asked me to take this group that no one wanted. Or not no one wanted, but the age range.
Yeah, sixth grade's tough to recruit for.
And,
sixth
and that's
grade
where
boys.
That's what we came
tough to
into.
recruit for,
and I remember begging them for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And that's counting an opening prayer and closing prayer and talking for something for 5 minutes. Like, hey man, if you give me 5 minutes, we'll go to the gym and play.
Yeah.
And that was however long. They're in ninth grade now, and we're finally seeing such good rewards from that group. And
it gets better, man.
Yeah.
It just gets better.
Yeah. And so I do think when you partner in that regard, when you're serving in that place, don't look for immediate wins.
Yeah.
You may get some small wins here and there to keep you going day by day. It's just like in school, like what we deal with. It's like that you look for little small wins, but you're not doing it for the wins. You're doing it for the longevity of it, and you're doing it for the, you're playing the long game,
right?
With it for sure. But it's a partnership.
Yeah, and the partnership piece there that Thomas was really hitting on, and I love it. I absolutely love it because like I say this a lot, and I think this a lot because so often when it comes to serving or comes to whatever, like we can put ourselves in a place of like, I'm doing this to give back in such a way where it's like I'm paying back what was given to me. And that's not always like a bad mentality, but it's an incomplete mentality when we're talking about serving in the name of Jesus, because really it's not about paying it back, or it's not about paying it forward. It's not about doing what somebody else did for you. It's not like making up for the mentors that mentored you. Yeah. No, it's like I am partnered with Jesus in this work.
Yeah.
And that's what makes it life-changing. Because I'm just a dude.
Yep.
I'm just a guy.
Yep.
And I can do nice things for you, and it might make your day better. I might make your life better. But I can't change it all. And I can't give you eternity. Only Jesus can. Like, I can't give you purpose that changes your life, but Jesus can.
Yeah.
And so this is a partnership. And I love what he said. He's like, man, anything of consequence that comes out of what I'm doing is because Christ is in it.
Yeah.
And like, that's important. That's important to hear.
That's good stuff.
Because it's so, it can be so taxing to believe that this is on you and on your ability.
Oh my gosh.
When we talk about the purpose that God has for your life, so often it's like, that feels like too much.
Yeah.
And it's like what Matt was saying earlier. It just feels like he wants to ruin our life if we give it all up to him. He might just make us do things that we don't want to do. Yeah. And then we hold on and we hold on and we hold on. And what if these people don't change? And, I don't want to go to Nineveh. Whatever the thing is.
Right.
Like, what we forget is that this is a partnership with Jesus, and it's not on us to change anybody. It's just on us to keep going, like what Tom was saying. And so good. There was something else that, like, the two things I wanted to kind of share that were in there as we were talking about rhythms and how do we stay connected to God. Yeah. And whether it's through routine or through like kind of just spur of the moment relational things or relational things that aren't in a routine, but we do them routinely every day. Does that make sense? Like,
for sure.
They're not scheduled necessarily, but they're going to happen.
Yep.
Something like I had pointed out in our conversation was, I think it's Eric Little. Do you know who Eric Little is?
I don't think
I think he's the Chariots of Fire guy. Anyway, he runs. I think I'm thinking of the right guy. There's
Chariots of Fire?
Yeah.
The movie?
Yeah. Yeah. Running real fast.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, so he basically has this quote that's like, "When I run, I feel like the blessing of God," or whatever it is. It's like, I botched the whole thing. I don't even know who it is or what exactly he said. This is Quotes with Garrett. Somebody said something to this effect, and I think they run.
Hey.
Anyway, but it's that idea of when you're doing what you're designed to do, you feel God's blessing, you feel his glory in that, because this is what you're made for. And I feel that I get that. It resonates with me. Not in running. I would never do that.
Yeah.
If I'm running, you should run too.
Yeah.
Because there's something wrong.
For sure.
But if there's
for sure.
But as far as like the things that I'm designed to do, it's like I believe that God has built me in a certain way. He's wired me in a certain way. And when I serve within that wiring, I feel like the blessing of God in that.
Wow.
Like I feel like it's worship. Like this is how you made me, and this is what I'm giving you. And there's a closeness and a connection to God in that of just being obedient. And being obedient within your wiring. Yeah. And it's so special. It's such a great thing. And you just feel like, I'm partnering with God with what he's given me. And it's like an offering, really, is what it is. It's like, hey, you've given me this, and I'm going to use these things that you've given me to glorify you. And you feel, it's almost like you feel God's smile in that.
Absolutely.
And that's not like a scriptural thing or anything like that. I mean, I'm just kind of like trying to put words to a feeling here.
Yeah.
But
I feel exactly what you're saying there.
Yeah. So that was one of the things. The other thing, and I'm so glad that Matt mentioned it, because one of the things that came up out of the questions from last year is like, how do you live in such a way that your family takes notice? And that how do you lead your family in these ways, specifically like their kids? Like, how do I make sure that my kids are developing a relationship with Jesus?
Yeah.
And Matt hit it, and it was that you have to live a life of radical surrender to Jesus.
Absolutely.
Like, and if you're not following Jesus, the people in your charge, whether they're your children, your co-workers, your co-laborers at church, they're not going to take it seriously if you're not taking it seriously.
That's right.
And the power of a father who loves Jesus, the power of a father who loves Jesus, not on display for their children, is incredible.
Yeah.
We can't choose Jesus for people.
Amen to that.
So
take that pressure off.
Yeah, free yourself of that. But the other side of it, though, too, is if you want, and this is I'm speaking as a dad that has little kids, but if I want my kids to emulate certain fruits of the Spirit, I need to demonstrate those for them. And so if I want my kids to be more patient, I need to be more patient.
Oh, for sure.
If I want my kids to be more kind, I need to be more kind. Gentle, I need to be more gentle. And not just to a small degree, to a large degree. Like one of the most painful things as a parent is looking at the little mirrors that are running around, and they just like there's joy in that, because it's like, it's so awesome. I love to see that quality that I value in Emily and them. But then there's other times it's like they really don't like to do things they don't like to do.
Right.
Like, and I see that with my kids. Like, if, for example, Austin lost her first tooth. Okay. So special. Great thing. She was terrified to remove this thing. It's been ready to go for the last 4 days.
I get that.
And just absolutely terrified. She has like a sore in her mouth, and we were trying to put medicine on it last night, and it was terrible, because she's like, I don't want it to stop hurting, but I also don't want you to put that medicine in my mouth. And it's like this I don't want to do what I don't want to do, and I don't want to do the hard thing. And I'm looking at her doing this, and in the moment I'm just mad, because she's like, I'm trying to help you. But the other side of it is like, how often am I doing this? It's the self-control of self-disciplining myself to do the thing that I don't want to do. It's hard to compel my kids to pick up their toys when I'm not picking up my clothes, or I'm not keeping, other spaces of the house clean or whatever. It seems silly. But there's deeper pieces to that as well. If you want your kids to follow Jesus, you need to follow Jesus in a way that's visible to them, and that's real. Always real. And when it's not real, you have to say sorry. And you have to own that. And that's hard to do. Very, very hard to do. But I think as a parent, though, or as anybody leading anybody, that's what it requires. For sure. First and foremost is you have to, if you're going to claim to believe this, you have to really believe it. And you have to live it in such a way that it's worth modeling. One of the most haunting passages, like, for the year for me is I think it's in Philippians, where Paul, he basically says, follow me as I follow Christ. Hate that. I hate that, because Paul is not special. He's just a dude. Right. When Jesus says things that are just outrageous, it's like, all right, you're Jesus. You're part God, part person. I get it. Right. Fully God, fully man. Okay. All right. Sure. It's like Michael Jordan saying, just dunk it. It's like, but then when Paul, who's just as human as I am, just as broken as I am, perhaps more broken than I am, says, follow me as I follow Christ. Am I willing to say that to people? Follow me as I follow Christ. If they were following me as I follow Christ? Or
You don't lead well,
Really
according to your sermon. You don't lead
that's
that well.
Well, I'm not a good lead driver.
Lead driver, yeah.
Yeah, not a good lead driver. So, yeah. And that's a challenge. It's a really challenging thing. But the reality is that that's the kind of pressure that you need to feel.
Yeah.
You need to respond to.
And that's another type of vulnerability.
Yeah.
When you're saying, hey, look, I'm here for you to see.
Yeah.
I'm here. I'm open. Follow me.
I'm following Jesus. This is a model.
Christ. Yeah. This is the model. Like, that's another type of vulnerability. And it's like, oh crap.
And to be able to do that without arrogance.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And to do it with grace and to do it with humility. That's
Maybe by the time that I'm an old man, I will have had that figured out. How to do that with grace.
Yeah. It's just.
But then nobody will listen to me because I'm an old man.
Right. Well, I love listening to older men.
Yeah. Me too.
I need more older, seasoned gentlemen.
Man,
to speak into my life.
If they know how to use the Apple Podcast app,
I know
they're going to be knocking down your door.
I know, man. They can email us or snail mail. If they don't have email.
Yeah, here's Cody's address: 123 Cody Lane. Oh no, Dickerson Drive. That's
Dickerson
what it is.
Drive. Yeah.
Anyway,
I love it, man.
Is there anything else from the night that you're like, oh man, I really want to talk about this?
Man, I think we hit on everything. My big takeaway was accountability, and the big takeaway is just walking in, man, and just seeing so many men on the same journey, and so many men who are going through the same things and they don't know it.
Yeah,
and they're in a room full of men, and it's just, I don't know. Like I just, my heart really, I just have a heart for the men of the church and the Christian men, because I know we're not alone. I know. That's right. I thought I was alone for years.
Yeah.
And when I found out that I was not alone, and you hear it all the time. Oh, you're not alone. You're not alone. You don't walk this life alone, but you really feel alone.
Yeah, that's right.
And especially when you think that you can try to fix it on your own. Especially when you think, oh, I'm the man, so I got to fix this on my own. Then you really feel alone, and you isolate yourself, and that isolation is so dangerous.
Yep.
And to see a room and an auditorium full of men worshiping God in all different walks of life, all different ages. Man, there was some young men there.
Yeah, that's right.
And just to see all of that together, to see the panel, different ages, to walk around and talk to men who have been through different things, who have walked different paths, but we're all on this journey of trying to be like Christ.
Yeah.
And man, it's just beautiful.
Yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's a powerful thing.
Yeah.
And man, I'm telling you, like, a man who is sold out to following Christ is a powerful, powerful thing.
Yeah. It really is.
And I don't know, man. It's beautiful.
Yeah. It's a good thing.
Yeah.
So,
hey, speaking of good men, there was a good man left us a email last week.
Yes.
Couple good men did, and our wonderful friend Shar was talking to us through email, and I probably need to give you the email so you can see some of these, because I'm the only one that's been seeing.
I figure
some
that
of
you'll
them.
pick one of the good ones.
Good friend of the podcast, Jeremy Rasher, decided to email in. Now, if you don't know Jeremy, he is in my wedding.
Okay,
but he wanted to let the Bad Apples people know here that WWE is a sport.
Oh my gosh.
They are competing for spots on the card, especially in the main event or the beginning of the card. Also, they are competing for the merchandise sales. So it is competition, and it is a sport. Now, we're not going to listen to Troy Piper's email, who completely pooped on WWE and competition.
Yes, Troy.
And agreed with Garrett, of course.
Yeah, that's right, Troy. You know what's up.
And I told Troy tonight, I brought him in here and let him see the setup and everything. And I told him, I said, hey, man, on this mic right here is where I'm going to tell everybody again, It's Wonderful Life is not a Christmas movie.
Oh, my gosh. It's just lethal.
I know. But I love Troy so much, and we just have so much fun together.
That's right. Well, hey, if this is your first episode ever listening and you like this sort of thing and you're thinking to yourself, you know what, I could use more nonsense.
Oh, yeah.
And a little less content, but still good content. We do talk about the serious stuff happens every time. Yeah. It's usually like 30-ish minutes.
We have a lean in.
Yeah, that's right.
You know what I mean? We lean in.
Yeah, that's right. So if you want a little bit more nonsense, if you want still really good content, if you like coffee, if you hate coffee, we don't talk about coffee for very long. You can go back and listen to any of our previous episodes. We got new episodes on the way. We're going to go back to talking about practicing the way, not practicing on the way. Yeah. If you were at Forge and you want to hear more from Matt Adams, the illusionist, he has agreed to be on an episode here soon. So look forward to that.
Yeah. Magic Matt. I like that.
I really hope that like he redoes his whole business. You know,
Magic Man,
shake and bake.
You know, what is it? Magic Man and El Diablo. Remember that?
No.
Talladega Nights, dude.
Oh,
you hate Will Ferrell. I forgot.
I don't hate Will Ferrell. I do think he's grossly overrated.
Whatever.
Grossly.
We'll save that for another podcast.
Anyway, tell the people what they want to hear.
Hey, God loved us first.
Yep.
God loves us best.
Yep.
And God loves us most. As always, this is the Bad Apples Podcast.
Yeah.